Bonjour, it's Matthew from That's So Matthew, and you're watching Disney Channel. Ooh la la, c'est super! Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of That's So Matthew. Today, it is a very, very exciting day and episode here on the podcast because we are here for the one and only That's So Matthew Awards coming back for their second year. I cannot believe it that it is the end of summer. When this episode comes out, I will have been in school for 5 days already, which is just kind of terrifying to say the least. I feel like I'm not alone in saying that I am not ready to go back to school. I'm recording this the week before I start school, and I feel like I'm ready, but like I don't want to go back. I feel like there's so much like stress about like with COVID and with like just the stress. I'm taking 3 AP classes this year. I already know I'm going to be stressed, but I feel like the stress is just like part of the deal, like the package deal that is the school year. So I can't like say I'm not ready to go. I feel like I'm ready to go back for like the socialization. I feel like I just need some social life back in my life again. Like also the stress of homework and essays and balancing the podcast is not something I'm looking forward to. However, I feel like this school year, I think I'm more prepared for whatever comes my way with the podcast better than ever. I'm going into my 3rd year of high school, and this is my I will have had the podcast pretty much in every single school year since the 8th grade at this point, so I feel like I'm really ready for whatever comes my way, and I actually have some very exciting tips and tricks for all of you along today's episode. So before we get into the awards, I'm going to do a life update, and in between each award, I'm actually going to be giving a podcast recommendation, some podcast tips and tricks, and just some fun little story times just to kind of break up the episode and just have a fun time here on the 2nd annual That's So Matthew Awards. So, life update. I already said I'm going back to school. That is a no-brainer. I feel like we're all in that kind of school season. I'm going to be a junior this year, which means I have my ACT, so I better already start getting work on that. A couple weeks ago, I kind of mentioned I had something super exciting coming my way, and I was actually going to be going to a very exciting audition. I unfortunately did not receive the position from the audition. However, I feel like it's just important to kind of move on and grow from that. So, unfortunately, I did not get the job. However, I feel like that is just perfectly fine, and I feel like I need to keep my head up, and I feel like that's super great advice. I feel like everyone is always kind of stressed, and when you miss an opportunity that you've wanted for so long, I feel like you do get a little upset, and I feel like it's just time that we just kind of move on, and I'm going to continue to work on my personal life as well as the podcast and school, because that's all starting, and it's also almost my favorite time of the year, which is spooky season. So I have some very exciting spooky season news coming in today's episode for the podcast, so stay tuned. What else? I finished up my Moana production. I have been done for about a month now when this episode comes out. It was a rewarding experience. I am so grateful for the experience. I have made so many new friends, and so many amazing people have come into my life because of the show. A lot of them you'll probably hear from on the podcast at some point, so get excited. Another thing is around the week of like the 9th, I got super sick, and I did think I had COVID, even though I have been vaccinated for about 3 months now. I should say fully vaccinated for about 3 months. It was so scary. I really was freaking out. However, it turns out I just had a cold. I did go get tested just to be safe because I had seen some people. I had my production of Moana just about a week earlier. None of us were in masks for that show. That was kind of before the Delta variant got really serious. So I just want to say, and I won't talk about this for the rest of the podcast, but if you are not vaccinated, please do go get vaccinated. I think it's super important for us to kind of return to normal and stay safe. Protect yourself, protect your family and friends. And I think, especially if you're in public, continue to kind of socially distant yourself away from other people. And as well, make sure to wear a mask if you go out in public. I feel like it's so important, and I feel like especially this sounds so selfish, but I did not get my haunted houses and Halloween like experience last year, so I would love to get that this year. So if everyone can continue to just be safe and get vaccinated, I feel like it's the best way to kind of go about our lives if you want to get back to normal just as much as I do. So what else? Podcast, I was kind of a little worried because I hadn't really gotten anything scheduled for September. But I can tell you right now, September is going to be a great month here on the podcast. So stay tuned. Don't even worry. It's going to be so fun. Uh, some new stuff from me. I am working on getting up to date with the podcast YouTube channel. I think I'm a couple weeks behind on that. I apologize. I will get back to that. As well as I'm trying to make sure my website is always up to date as well. And I always respond to comments and DMs. So just leave me a comment or DM. I'm also trying to get back into the podcast TikTok. I feel like I've not posted on there in forever. Typical me, I kind of post on TikTok a lot and then I go away, but we're going to fix that. And yeah, I feel like that's all I have for my life update. I am terrified to go back to school. I'm not ready, but I feel like it's going to be a great year. So I feel like it's already off to a pretty good start. So I think it's time to get into some awards. So let's honestly just kick things off with our first award. So the first award, before we get into that, I want to say thank you all so much for voting. I was blown away by the number of people who voted on the podcast, like, awards. I feel like I have, like, a pretty great following of people on Instagram and on Spotify, Apple, wherever you guys get your podcasts. And at this point last year, my podcast was still really small. So the kind of, like, amount of love I have received from this and it just really, really made my day. So I love you all so much. Thank you. You're the best. So thank you to the almost 40 people that voted. I mean, maybe I could have been trolled by like one person voting 40 times, but I am so grateful. So thank you so, so much. I love you all. So our first award is Fan Favorite Actress. So this could be any Disney Channel actress from any time frame. It could be a more recent actress, or it could be someone like AJ Mashaka from the early 2000s. And I am not like surprised at who won the award, but let's just get into it. So your 2021 That's So Matthew Fan Favorite Actress is Olivia Rodrigo. So Olivia was in Bizaardvark on Disney Channel and is currently in, I should say, the High School Musical, the series show on Disney+. So I was not surprised. She has blown up this year. I am a huge fan of her. I loved her album, Sour. Fun fact, I feel like I talk about this a little bit on the podcast, that there was originally a whole episode dedicated to Olivia Rodrigo. However, it did end up getting scrapped, so I'm sorry about that. But I really, really enjoyed her album, and I can't wait to see where she goes in the future because I feel like she has such an amazing life and her fame ahead of her. So shout out to her. Congrats. I know you're never going to know you won this award, but I still think it's pretty cool. So for our first little segment, I mean, I guess the life update was kind of a segment, but I am going to tell you guys my podcast birth story because I feel like it's a fun story to tell. I feel like I've told it so many different times, but I just love telling it. So over pretty much 2.5 years ago, I decided to start a podcast. I had no idea what I was going to talk about. I kind of just knew I wanted to start one, and at that point in time, I had become really nostalgic. Disney Plus was going to come out later that year, and ended up going on a whole Disney Channel binge, and I was like, I should start a Disney Channel podcast. So I did, and here we are, 2.5 years later, still having an amazing Disney Channel podcast. I have come so far. I really did no research. I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea it was actually going to last this long, but I feel like it's been such an amazing and rewarding experience that I'm so grateful that I did. Like, I feel like it's such a decision that really changed my life. I've met so many amazing people on Instagram and who have been on my podcast, and I'm just absolutely so blessed to have met so many amazing people. As you guys know, I will be having a rebrand in November. I'm not rebranding the show in the sense that you might think I am. I'm not like ending That's So Matthew as we know it. Actually, I'm growing That's So Matthew as we know it, as I will venture into more of a movie nostalgia podcast. So that is very, very exciting. I'm kind of nervous, but however, I will be giving some details in today's episode in its own little segment coming up in just a little bit. So that is the podcast birth story of That's Matthew. I feel like it's quaint, it's quick, it's kind of funny, and it just kind of makes me feel so grateful for the experience, and it truly changed my life. And I feel like that's like such a basic like thing to say, but I'm being honest, I'm being grateful, and I'm so amazed each day that when someone likes a post, or when I see that someone has listened to my podcast, it just makes me feel so overwhelmed and so grateful in like the best way possible. Like, I'm gonna be hitting episode 100. The next episode is episode 100, and now you're probably like, Matthew, why wouldn't you just make episode 100 the That's Matthew Awards? I don't know, because I like wasn't thinking, and there was no way. I wanted episode 100 to be in September because that's my birth month. Because I don't know, Virgo season, but like I just really wanted to have it be in my birth month. And also the That's Matthew Awards are like a typical end of summer celebration. So I felt like having them on the 27th was just for me, but don't worry, episode 100 is going to be really amazing. I know what it is, but I'm not going to say what it is. It is an episode covering an amazing decom that'll be coming out next week. So stay tuned. This is episode 99, which also low key cray. Why am I talking like a surfer dude? I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words right now. It's kind of still shocking, but I feel like it's going to be super exciting. However, I can tease something super exciting. I will have a big announcement next week for my 100th episode, so stay tuned for that. So let's move on to our next That's So Matthew Award, and which is Fan Favorite Actor. You guys could vote pretty much anyone, like I said, from maybe Corbin Bleu to Jackson Dollinger. I was actually I'm gonna be honest. So Olivia Rodrigo, she won Fan Favorite Actress. So I was kind of thinking that like maybe like a more recent person would win, right? No. Y'all surprised me with this one. I am so excited to announce the Fan Favorite Actor. That's a Matthew Award winner for 2021 is Zac Efron. Y'all, what? So I feel like I'm not surprised that it's Zac Efron, but I'm just a little shook up because I feel like Olivia Rodrigo and Zac Efron are like so like they're different, but like they're similar, So shout out to Zac Efron from your appearances in High School Musical, the trilogy. One of my favorite DCOM trilogy. I was gonna say one of, but I feel like I can just say it's my favorite, especially my all-time favorite DCOM, which is High School Musical 2, tied with Cowbells. So shout out to both of those amazing DCOMs. So Zac Efron and Olivia Rodrigo are the fan favorites of the TSM Awards for 2021. So kind of shocked, but not surprised. So up next, I want to give you all a podcast recommendation. I've recommended this podcast. I've even had them on my podcast before, but I just need to give them a shout out, y'all. So you guys know my friends from Even the Little Things podcast, Hannah and Dwani. They are so amazing. Their podcast is literally my lifeline right now. I feel like that's like something super basic to say, but y'all, their episodes are helping me through it. I have kind of been like, I'm not even gonna lie, like in a little bit of a rut lately. Like I feel like I haven't been as creative, or my podcast is kind of a mess. However, the podcast they've got everything. They've got back to school. They're talking about peer pressure, academic pressure, parental pressure. Their podcast is just what I need, and I feel like hearing it from like a friend, because Hannah and Dwani are some of my most best podcast friends. It's so great to like kind of hear them talk, and it feels like I'm sitting down with them like in person, listening to them talk, and it's just so amazing. And I love everything about their podcast, and you guys need to check it out. They are getting me through it. I am, like I said, I was kind of in a little bit of a rut lately, but their podcast, I feel like going back to school is like such a stressful thing, and their episode just made me like little less nervous, and like they're seniors and I'm going to be a junior, and they have their junior year episode, another amazing episode, like helping me through it, y'all. Love it. So shout out to Hannah and Dwani for their podcast, Even the Little Things. If you have not checked it out already, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go check it out. It's amazing. So enough about how amazing my friends are. Let's go on to our next That's So Matthew award, which is the favorite solo episode. So I usually don't do solo episodes on the podcast. I feel like it's not made for me. Like, there are podcasters who literally talk to themselves for so long, and I appreciate y'all so much. I feel like solo podcasting is just not for me. I've just kind of like accepted the fact that solo podcasting is not for me. That's why I don't do it very often. However, I'm blessing you all with the solo episode today, so you're welcome. But I did a few this year. I did the TSM Awards, the Live to Party special, and the Radio Disney episode, which y'all really, really loved that episode. I'm going to be honest, that is one of my most streamed episode, if not the most streamed episode, which is so crazy because I feel like that was like such a rushed episode, and I feel like podcasters can relate. Like, your numbers, they vary so much, but like maybe there's an episode that you like weren't like really pleased about it, but you still put it out, and it did so good because that's literally the episode. I feel like I did not put any effort into it. I felt like it was not my best work, but y'all loved it, and so that makes me really happy. Especially that was the first episode I put out in 2021, and that was episode 60, I think 67. So I feel very, very grateful, I think, and it just makes me really, not 67, 64, sorry. It's actually so insane, the amount of plays that episode has. So shout out to that Radio Disney episode. However, the 2021 That's So Matthew Award fan favorite solo episode was the 2020 That's So Matthew Awards. So I'm going to be honest, that episode is also not one of my favorites, but the awards are something that I'm really proud of, and I feel like it's a great celebration of the podcast, especially to end the summer. I feel like that's such a fun thing to do. So the That's So Matthew Awards, I decided to do them for my first year in 2019. However, I ended up not doing it because I like went on a like really mysterious long hiatus because I was embarrassed about my podcast in high school, which I feel like I'm so like upset at myself for like thinking that people really cared. Like, what was that? So eventually when I did come back, I was like, I'm going to do them in 2020. So I did. So this is the second annual TSM Award. So really, really proud of that episode and that you guys loved it so much. So shout out to that. And I didn't even know if I was going to do the awards again this year, but I ended up doing it. And I'm so grateful that I did because you all really liked the episode. And so you guys voting it as the favorite solo episode made me feel so much better about doing the show again this year. So another fun segment we're going to do. So this is called the podcast name story time. So I feel like no one tells you this about podcasting, but telling people you have a podcast in normal conversation is just not something that usually happens. I feel like I don't say it like at all. However, I want to know if you guys like that have a podcast, teens that have a podcast, do you guys like tell like everyone you meet about it, or is it like really private? Because I feel like I'm like somewhere in between. So let's get into the story time. So I was at that audition for the job that I didn't end up getting, and I literally said, like, we had to say a fun fact about ourselves. When I was talking to some of these people that I had met, we did like a little circle, and we were just like meeting people while waiting for our turn to go. And so I was like, hi, my name's Matthew, and I have a podcast. So everyone's like really shocked about it. And I always like say, oh yeah, it's called That's So Matthew. Listen wherever you get your podcast, you know? And like, oh my gosh, That's So Matthew, like That's So Raven, that's so brilliant. I mean, I love it. And I feel like, and then I say that it's a Disney Channel podcast, and then they're like, oh my gosh, that's so brilliant. And you know what? It does boost my ego, and I'm proud of it. I feel like another fun fact is that originally the podcast was called And You're Watching Disney Channel. So I think for like the first 5 episodes, that's what I called it. So, however, That's So Matthew just works so much better. So I love it, and it is my brand. Literally, I have merch. So if you guys want merch, go to my website, thatsmatthew.com, and click on merch, and then you'll go to my merch store. But, like, I feel like and you're watching Disney Channel, just, it doesn't ring. Like, I was literally like, that is the most clever title. What was I thinking? Because I feel like That's So Matthew so much better, you know? Excuse me, I just took a water break because I'm very thirsty. This water, so I have, do y'all agree? This is so random, but like bottled water, they all taste so different. I have Ice Mountain right now, and it did not taste good. I think my favorite is like the Festival Foods water. I don't know if you guys know what Festival Food is, but it is a store. I know they have locations in Wisconsin. I don't know if they have other locations, but their water slaps. So this water, unfortunately, the Ice Mountain water, gets a thumbs down from me. But okay, second story time is at Moana. I had met some friends and I was talking about my podcast because why not? And one of the guys goes, "Oh, that's Matthew, like That's So Raven." And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "It's a Disney Channel podcast." And he goes, "That makes it so much better." So I feel like I'm really proud of how many people love my title and like brands. So y'all are the best. Thank you. That was my podcast name, Storytime. And I want to know, if you are a teen podcaster, like, how does the conversation even go for y'all? Let me know. I'm more than interested in hearing your story times. Up next, we have fan favorite That's So Matthew show. Wait, I said that all wrong. Let's rewind a second. The 2021 That's So Matthew Award for favorite show. So the way that I chose this year's like show, like who could be voted on for favorite show, it was all the episodes that I did about shows. So I only did 4 episodes on TV shows, and that was Shake It Up with my friend Cece in episode 41, Ant Farm episode 46 with my friend Ashley, Stuck in the Middle with Sparkling Ava episode 67, and Raven's Home with Sparkling Ava as well, episode 90. So those were the 4 options, and there was a really kind of split vote on this one because we've got 2 older shows and 2 newer shows. So I was kind of like, who's going to pull through? Surprisingly, y'all, I am very excited to announce the 2021 That's Matthew Award for favorite show goes to Raven's Home. Raven's Home is not like, excuse me, my favorite show, but like it's not like a show that I hate. I'm like very neutral on it. I did a whole episode on Raven's Home, and I do think it should get a season 5, but the season 5, like what seems to be the storyline, I'm not really vibing with it. So maybe no season 5. But go check out episode 90 with Sparkling Ava, where we talk all about Raven's Home. That was 9 episodes ago, but it feels like it was just yesterday. I'm really proud of that episode. It is one of my most streamed episodes as well, so just really go check it out. I really, really had a great time with that one. So I feel like you should totally go and check it out because, you know, it is the 2021 That's Matthew Award for favorite show. So up next, I have another segment here, and we are going to talk all about podcast tips and tricks. So y'all, let's get real. Podcasting is not easy, and I feel like no one tells you this when you first start. You need to know the tips and tricks like before you even get started. And so, as you guys know, I did not do any research, so I had no idea what I was getting into. However, I have compiled like 3 big tips and tricks that'll help you with your podcast. So the first one, I didn't know until like a year into my podcast when COVID, I almost called it Corona, which I don't know why people still call it that. When COVID hit, all of a sudden Zoom became a huge thing. And guess what, y'all? Zoom is a lifesaver for podcasts. If you are recording remotely, I totally recommend Zoom, and you can even click record an individual track, which is a lifesaver for editing and producing great sounding audio. It just saved my life. So Zoom has been so grateful. I have used others like Zencaster and Riverside FM. I found Zencaster is okay, not my favorite. However, I really do like Riverside, so y'all should totally go check both of those out. They're both great, but I feel like Zoom is free if you're just doing a 2-guest episode, and it just works best for me. So my next tip is to get a planner. And so whether this is your Google Calendar or a physical planner, just get one of those because you are going to be booked, especially if you're recording sessions. I always write down in my planner days I'm posting on Instagram and what I'm posting. So if it's like a meme, a graphic, a new episode graphic, whatever it is, make sure you write those down in your planner, as well as when the new episode goes out, when you're recording episodes, when you need to edit them by. my planner is absolutely a lifesaver. I always get one for the school year, and I feel like the school year is when I'm most disorganized. So having a planner is just a lifesaver for me. And so this next tip is my favorite right now. It is my favorite thing in the world, especially that I'm starting school next week. I am recording my September and October episodes right now, so I'm kind of in a very crazy season because I'm recording a regular episode, then a spooky season, and it's so crazy. But this lifesaver is called Calendly. So I actually found out about this from my school counselor, who I don't really too much care for, sorry. But he uses Calendly, or they used Calendly for their scheduling for my class, like where you pick your classes meeting thing. And Calendly is a lifesaver. So let me tell you a little bit about it. It is not sponsored. However, if they were to sponsor me, I would totally do it because it is so amazing. So you hook it up to your Google account and your Google Calendar. So I always put everything in my Google Calendar and in my planner. So that is the first thing that is really, really important. So you have that. And then you can set your hours for each day of the week. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So usually on the weekends, I do from 12 to 5. However, I will on Sundays and on Saturdays, I do 9 to 5. Usually somewhere around there. Sometimes I'll do the evenings, but usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I do 5 to 9 as an option. So that means that you can send this link to a podcast guest and they can pick their time slot, and it is a lifesaver. They put in their email, you can put their topic down in there, and it schedules you, and it sends them an email and you an email and puts it on your Google Calendar. And then if you use the Zoom Connect, I don't know what it's called. I think you just go to the integrations and click Zoom and connect your Zoom account, and then it will create a specific Zoom meeting code and password for them, and it is sent straight to their email for their email confirmation. So I literally have to do no work. I don't have to set up the Zoom meetings. I don't have to go back and forth with a guest. Does Thursday work? Does Friday work? Does 4 o'clock work? 3 o'clock? Whatever. It does it all for you, and it is a life freaking saver. So you can pick, you can even do date overrides. So certain days I just don't want to be available that day. And you just put that down on there. Or you can, and so another amazing thing is, even if you put you're available from 5 to 9, if you have an event on your calendar, it will not like schedule anything on that day. So like during that time. So if I have choir rehearsal from 5 to 6, it won't allow them to schedule. And it is absolutely a lifesaver. I did use it a little bit before COVID, kind of like, or not COVID, but before this school year, but then I kind of veered away from it. However, now I cannot recommend it enough. Use Calendly. It is freaking amazing. Cannot recommend it enough. I've said it like 5 times, so check it out, especially for podcasters. It's a lifesaver. I know Isabel, who is maybe coming back on the podcast, wink wink, uses it, and we just love it so much. So like I literally just sent it to her today for something, and we were able to pick a time right away, and it's so quick and so easy. And I don't have to do any of the work. I don't have to send the email confirmations or anything. It does that itself, and it is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. So I will definitely be using this all school year, and I have all my hours and availability put in on the app until like September, till around my birthday, which is September 12th. So really, really exciting. Really, really amazing. I am so grateful. So grateful to have this right now. It's a lifesaver. So thank you so much, Calendly. Please sponsor me. All right, everyone. Let's go on to our next award, which is the 2021 That's Matthew Award for Favorite DCOM. So the way I did this is because almost every single episode is about DCOM. I picked and pulled for my most popular / downloaded episodes, which was the following. High School Musical 2, episode 43. I talked about that with my friend Mia. Lemonade Mouth, episode 44. With DCOM reviews. How to Build a Better Boy, episode 50 with my friend Sylvia. Cheetah Girls, episode 69 with Tori from the Ready to Be Petty podcast. One of my favorite episodes and guests and podcasts, honestly. And episode 70 with Isabel, who I was just talking about for Cheetah Girls 2. In episode 70. I don't know if I said that. So the winner of favorite DCOM is Cheetah Girls. So I'm very excited about this, to be honest. Cheetah Girls is one of my favorites, always has been. I feel like I rated it too low in the episode though, so Tori and listeners, please forgive me for that. But I really, really enjoyed that episode. It is so good. Check it out. It just celebrated 18 years of being a DCOM and being released. So I definitely love that. I also really feel like that episode is just chef's kiss. So if you have not checked it out, you need to do that. And everyone, let's do it together. If you have like water, coffee, tea, take a drink break. So let's do it right now. I feel like y'all definitely heard the water. I'm sorry. Yeah, like that, my voice was just starting to hurt a little bit. So because I am still getting over my sickness a little bit, my cold that I had last week. So I'm working on that. Just healing, and it's been really, really helpful to drink water and tea. So now we're going to talk about balancing the school and podcast. So if you're a teen in college or even adults in college, you are definitely stressed about your podcast and school. These are my top 3 tips on how to balance that. One is record episodes and put them in what I like to call like the bank or the vault. So usually during the school year, I have all my episodes recorded about 1 month in advance. Fun fact. So that allows me to make sure that they're edited and ready to go. And it is just a lifesaver. It is a freaking lifesaver, especially so if I miss a week, like I'm super busy one week, I don't not have an episode ready to go. You know, I think that's so important. I used this trick almost all last year, and it was an absolute lifesaver and my favorite thing. So record episodes and put them in the vault or the bank, whatever you want to call it. The next tip is to just honestly kind of do everything in your free time. So say you have a bunch of homework on a Wednesday night and you have to get that done for the next day. Always put your schoolwork first, but don't forget about your podcast. So maybe, like I said, having that bank is so important. And so if you take that little time and do the homework and maybe just edit 10 minutes of the episode, I feel like it's just utilizing your time wisely. Another thing is usually I will do homework usually get it done right away, hopefully, and then just have a little bit of time to work on the podcast, make graphics, etc. So using your free time wisely, and as well, putting school first, that is a key thing, honestly. So my final tip is to just give yourself some slack, like cut yourself some slack. So when you are working during the school year, if you have a job or on the podcast or on homework, you are definitely stressed. And I feel like you need to just kind of be honest with yourself. And you should know that even though you are really busy and you're putting in the work for the podcast, the homework, it is okay to take breaks. I feel like podcasts, me specifically, are sometimes afraid to take a break. I have posted episodes every single Friday for over a year, and yeah, I'm tired during the school year, and yeah, I feel like I need to just take a break sometimes, and I feel like that is totally okay. Maybe don't post on Instagram, take a social media break. I took a social media break in like February. I still posted the episodes, but I just wasn't on social media that much, and it was a lifesaver, and I feel like kind of taking that Instagram break is so crucial and so important. So definitely take some social media breaks. So those are my 3 tips for balancing a podcast and school. They're not the best tips, but I feel like it's just really important to just stay organized, be nice to yourself, and just have fun. So up next, we have the 2021 That's Matthew Award for the favorite topic that I've covered on my podcast this year. So the options were pretty much endless. It was pretty much any episode from episode 43 up until episode 90, I think. The winner of the 2021 That's Matthew Award for favorite topic goes to, drumroll please, I feel so stupid, Halloween Town with Mia. So that episode is a really, really long time ago. That was a long time ago. That was like episode, like 40, 50 something. maybe like 55. Y'all, that episode was so long ago, but shout out to Halloween Town. It is such an amazing episode. So go check it out. I had a really, really fun time recording that with Mia. And clearly y'all enjoyed it too because y'all voted it as your favorite topic. I was kind of surprised though. It wasn't something more recent, but Halloween Town is a fan favorite. So I definitely, totally am excited about that. So up next, our next little segment is going to be what's coming up. So I'm going to give you all a little bit of a teaser on what you guys can expect in the next couple months about the podcast. So I would say one is content every single Friday, as usual. 2 is 3 Instagram posts a week, as usual. 3 is a bunch of Instagram stories about my life. I feel like I'm going to try and be very, like, honest and perspirant, that's not the word, transparent, about my life. Like, if I'm having a bad day, I feel like I might post about that, but like I don't want to like seem like an attention seeker. I feel like just honesty and transparency with y'all is super important. I feel like I am going to try and do blog posts a little bit more often on that'smatthew.com. My most recent one is covering The Bachelorette 17, where I talk all about Katie's season, what I thought about it. It was the first time I had watched The Bachelorette like in full, and I was kind of disappointed with Katie's season. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the men, if it was because it was a COVID season, or if it's just because the winner wasn't even originally on the show. I don't know. I feel like it wasn't my favorite, so I talk all about that. So go check it out in the blog post. I think I might do that for some of the other seasons as well, because I just watched Becca's season. I love Becca Kufrin, sorry. I love her so much. I just feel like her season is like not talked about enough, so I feel like I'm going to do a whole blog post about that. As well as I'm currently watching Hannah Brown's season. However, I don't think I'm going to finish it before Tuesday, which is when I wanted to. However, I will figure a way, because I don't know, I feel like her season has a lot of drama. However, like it's just kind of boring otherwise besides the drama, and I feel like if it's all about drama, it's just not as fun. So another thing that you guys can expect to see is the November Rebrand, which I'm going to be talking about in my next segment. As well as I'm going to try my very, very best to send out weekly newsletters. I have not sent out weekly newsletters in a while, so I'm going to try and get those back up and going again. So another thing that you guys can definitely expect is some bonus episodes, hopefully coming very, very soon. So the 2021 That's So Matthew Award for Favorite Guest is next, and I'm going to be honest, I was kind of shocked by this, but like also I think oh my god, the chair like literally just like bent backwards. That is horrifying. Okay. Okay. That's what the noise was. My heart is racing. So, sorry, back on track. I think that this is going to a super amazing guest who does not deserve to go unrecognized, and that is, our winner is DCOM Reviews. And so DCOM Reviews, you are the 2021 That's Matthew Award for Favorite Guest, aka Michael from DCOM Reviews. Michael is so genuine. He has been on the podcast several times at this point, and it's just so rewarding to have him on, because I feel like to have 2 DCOM nerds, it's very fun. It's definitely a fun experience. I reached out to him over a year ago, and I was like, hey, you want to come on my podcast? And I feel like it's just been such a great friendship over the year to just kind of go back and have him on from time to time and talk about some DCOMs. We really get into it. So he's also watched every single DCOM and rated them on his Instagram account, so go check it out. I love his reviews, and I feel like you all will too, so please go check it out. I really had a great time with that one. So up next, our next segment is the November Rebrand. So I feel like I've gotten so many different questions about this, so I'm going to answer them, and we're going to talk about it. So the first question is what is the rebrand? So essentially the rebrand is me branching out to other nostalgic childhood movies like Aquamarine, the Bratz movie, Disney movies, Nickelodeon movies, Nickelodeon shows, just kind of that whole branch out, and I feel like it's going to be super exciting. It's going to follow the same format. I'm going to have a guest. We're going to talk about the character's plot, rating at the end, as well as if the movie had came out today, do you think it would do as well? I feel like it's going to be very similar to what you guys know and love. So don't even get, like, I feel like I'm a little worried about, like, what's to come. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like we're just gonna kind of live and learn as we kind of go along. So the first two November episodes will go on business as usual here on the pod, and then from there on, it is the start of season 7 and a new era here on the podcast. Um, Another thing is, what are the guest situations going to look like? I feel like it's just going to be kind of similar to what we've already seen here on the pod. So don't get too worried. I feel like a lot of people are kind of worried. I feel like I've gotten some concerns from loyal listeners that have been listening. Don't be worried. I feel like it's just going to be, it's not like the end of That's So Matthew. I feel like it's the growth. So another thing I really want to talk about is that I was not peer pressured into this. And I feel like another concern is that I still have some decoms that I have not talked about. I made this decision in May or so. I had kind of wanted to do it for a while now, and the decoms that are left, unfortunately, it is really hard to find guests for, and I feel like at this point, I'm at a point where I can continue to talk about some decoms. The decoms are not going to go unnoticed, don't worry. I just feel like I have to find a guest that is passionate about the movie and really enjoys the movie or can talk about it. So I just really want to make sure that I'm doing it right. And at this point, I feel comfortable in branching out, and I don't think much is going to change. I think really the cover art is going to remain the same, as well as pretty much everything you already know on the podcast. So don't be worried. I feel like it's just going to be great. I'm going to continue to grow, and if this doesn't work out, I feel like it's just going to be a learning experience. So that's a little bit about the November rebrand. However, there is a very small possibility, or like a medium possibility, I would say, that I do change my cover art and my color scheme a little bit. I feel like my color scheme has been very great and loyal to me for like the past year and a half or so. I love it. However, maybe it is time for a change. Maybe I'll change some of the fonts. I have really been playing around with my website font, and I feel like I'm really into that font. It is a great font. So maybe I'll kind of transfer that over to the cover art. We'll kind of see how that goes. So I wouldn't say be worried. I feel like it's just going to be a really great time and an experience. I feel like it's just, we need to be honest with ourselves, and when it's time to grow, it's time to grow. And I feel like I am not moving on from Disney Channel. I have nothing against the channel. I will continue to talk about them. I will continue to post about new decoms and stuff. It's just more going to become a little bit more of a broader nostalgia podcast. So stay tuned. Our final That's Matthew award is the 2021 award for favorite episode, which I'm so excited to announce, because this episode is one of my favorites to this day. It's about one of my favorite decoms with an amazing guest. So the favorite episode award for 2021, the options were pretty much endless. Like I said, it could be anywhere from episode 43 all the way up until episode 90. The winner goes to episode 70, Cheetah Girls 2, with my friend Isabel. Isabel has her own podcast, the Just Isabel Things podcast, so make sure you go check that out. But I was just so grateful. That was like the beginning of our friendship, and I'm just so grateful to have had her. The episode is absolutely amazing. It is an amazing episode. It's an amazing decom. Go check it out. I cannot recommend it enough. And I want to thank you guys so much for voting for this year's episode for the 2021 That's Matthew Awards. This about wraps it up. However, I do want to tease some things coming up. Episode 100 next week, a big celebration happening over on my Instagram, so you'll want to make sure to check that out, as well as make sure to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube at That's Matthew, as well as Facebook at That's Matthew for all the podcast updates. I'm always posting up on there, so make sure you go check it out. You can find my website, thatsmatthew.com, on your favorite search engine, as well as my merch, which is very exciting, as well as a list of all of the decoms and shows that I've covered at this point thus far. If you want to collab with me, go out to my website and fill out the form, and I will happily get back to you as soon as I can. However, I am pretty booked for September, and I'm still looking for just a few episode for October, which is spooky season. I am super excited. Spooky season does return to the podcast. If this is your first spooky season here on the podcast, let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen. So we're going to have a Halloween themed decom. There are 5 Fridays. Every single one of them is going to be a new decom with an amazing guest. We're going to talk about our fall traditions, what we love to do during the fall, our favorite like horror movies. It's just going to be a super fun Halloween-y themed episode. Halloween is my favorite time of the year, so this is very exciting. So spooky season is returning to the podcast, and I am ecstatic. So another thing is, before we go on, I do want to say that I am looking forward to what is to come and what is going to kind of be for the podcast in this next couple weeks. I can't reveal too much. However, I have never been this excited about a lineup. So September is going to be very exciting. I think that about wraps it up, everyone. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for voting if you did. And thank you so much for listening. It always means the world to me. Like I said, I respond to all comments and DMs, so make sure to reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. And if you guys want to hear more from me, you guys can check out my podcast wherever you get your podcasts and all other 98 episodes. I will see you guys next week in another episode again soon for episode 100. Bye!